again, just welcome. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciate having you all here. Seeing everybody's faces, you can see the diversity that we have today with just various ministries, chaplaincy, pastoral care, deacon lay people, priests, all the wonderful diversity. So welcome. And again, as you join us, feel free to put who you are in the chat room and what ministry you represent. So welcome to NACC. If you haven't been with us for a past webinar and this is your first time with us, we're glad you're here. So today we'll talk about our new Pastoral Care Foundations course, which we're really excited about. And we're almost gleeful to share this program with everybody. So, all right. So we actually have a number of people with us who are in leadership with the NACC, but for now, I'll introduce myself. I'm Erica Cohen-Moore. I'm the Executive Director for the National Association of Catholic Chaplains. And we have Anita Houghton with us, who's the Director of Pastoral Care and Certification. We also have some of our staff, and admittedly, I can't see all the boxes, but I know I saw Janine Annunziato and Emily. And we have some of our board members here, which I'm just really grateful to see all of you. And then Wade West is here. He is part of the team that helped us produce this program, and some of his staff is here as well. So maybe towards the end, we'll have kind of an opportunity to share more about the staff and the team that created this program. Okay. So the mission, just a really high overview of who NACC is and what we do. So the mission of NACC is to promote the dignity of the human person by cultivating excellent and spiritual care through education, certification, and professional support for chaplains and pastoral care providers. And the NACC envisions a world where every person has access to compassionate, high-quality pastoral care. The NACC maintains an important ecclesial relationship with the United States, with the USCCB, excuse me. And the NACC is a recognized Catholic organization that works in collaboration with the bishops to serve the church's ministry of pastoral and spiritual care. The NACC is also, we've been around for 60 years. We just celebrated our 60th anniversary in 2025. We have a long history of serving chaplaincy and growing chaplaincy in healthcare. And we are really starting to expand our tent exponentially. So we're not just serving chaplains, but we're also serving pastoral care ministers, people living in parishes, people working in prisons, law enforcement, all the things. We want to be able to be a pastoral care hub for anyone working in the Catholic space. And so I think a lot of you are from that space, and so we welcome you today. All right, so we'll start with a prayer. So just inviting us all into this space today, taking this hour to be with each other to learn more about this really incredible program. A prayer for all of you and the ministry all of you do and the people you serve every day. Profoundly grateful for each of you. Gracious and loving God, you're the source of all compassion and the healer of every heart. As we gather today, we ask you to present among us, to be present among us. Open our hearts to the needs of those who suffer and awaken in us a deeper call to accompany others with care and dignity. Bless our time together, that it may be guided by your Spirit, rooted in your love, and directed towards service of your people. We entrust this time to you through Christ our Lord. Amen. All right. So today our topics covered: what is the Pastoral Care Foundations course? Why are we all here today? Who is our audience for this course? What makes this course different than things that you've seen in the past? How do we differentiate ourselves from others? Why does this course matter? What is the course and the module structure? What topics are covered in this course? And what is the cost of this course? It's always great to cover logistics. And how can the course serve your local needs? And so with that, I'm going to send it over to Anita, who's really been the force behind this and creating it. So introduce us to Betty.
Thank you. Thanks, Erica. And hello, everybody. Um, we'd like to begin this presentation with a story. Meet Betty Smith. Betty is a lifelong Catholic. She attends Mass, daily Mass. She serves as a Eucharistic minister and has a deep love for her parish. After years of caring for her family, she feels a desire to give back. When her pastor mentions the need for homebound ministers, Betty volunteers. Her first visit is to Ellen. Ellen is 86 years old, and just a few weeks ago, her husband died. For decades, he was her connection to the parish, the one who drove them to Mass and helped her feel part of the community. Now, Ellen sits alone in her home, overwhelmed with grief. Betty arrives a bit nervous, but eager to serve. She greets Ellen warmly and begins talking right away. She says things like, "At least he lived a long life, and you'll feel better with time." Wanting to be helpful, Betty begins to share stories about her own losses. When Ellen grows quiet and tearful, Betty becomes uncomfortable with the silence and quickly fills it, offering advice about staying busy and keeping a positive attitude. Before leaving, Betty distributes the Eucharist and says, "I pray that you feel better soon." Betty leaves feeling like she has done something kind, but Ellen remains sitting in her chair, still grieving, still alone, and perhaps now feeling unseen in her pain. With a little formation, Betty's encounter with Ellen could have had a more positive outcome. Imagine the conversation going something like this. Betty begins with a moment of quiet. She says, "Ellen, I'm so sorry for your loss. Would you like to tell me about your husband?" Ellen begins to speak, slowly at first, then with more depth. She shares stories, memories, and the ache of his absence. When Ellen becomes quiet, Betty resists the urge to fix or explain. Betty remains present, attentive, calm, and compassionate, allowing the silence to hold what words cannot. When appropriate, Betty says something like, "It sounds like he was such an important part of your life. This feels very heavy right now." Ellen nods. She feels heard. Betty does not shift the focus to herself. She does not offer platitudes to try to move Ellen past her grief. Instead, she honors it. After some time, Betty asks, "Would you like to receive communion today?" They prepare together in a spirit of reverence. The Eucharist is shared not as a routine task, but as a moment of connection to Christ and to the church that Ellen feels she has lost. Before leaving, Betty says, "Thank you for sharing your heart with me today. I will keep you in my prayers, and I look forward to being with you again." Betty leaves quietly. Ellen remains in her chair, but something has shifted. She's still grieving, but she is not as alone. She has been seen and understood. The difference between scenario one and scenario two is not Betty's intention, it's her formation. Today, there's no shortage of people who are hurting, but who's there to accompany them? And are they prepared? And that's why we developed the Pastoral Care Foundations course. Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So what is the Pastoral Care Foundations course? The Pastoral Care Foundations course exists to form pastoral care ministers for the sacred work of accompaniment. How many of us on this call today have worked with pastoral care ministers, were a pastoral care minister, and maybe felt undertrained or we didn't have the resources? NACC really, we work in spaces and we work with wonderfully Wonderful human beings that are so well-intentioned that want to do amazing work, but sometimes just need better training. And so that's really where this course came to be. So, across parishes, healthcare settings, correctional institutions, and Catholic organizations, pastoral care is often entrusted to generous volunteers who are deeply committed but frequently lack pastoral ministry skills. This program offers essential formation to equip individuals to serve with compassion, ethical integrity, and confidence while upholding the dignity of every person they encounter. Who is our audience? This course is designed specifically for pastoral care and lay ecclesial ministers, hospital volunteer chaplains, correctional ministers, parish nurses, medical staff, clergy, pre and post ordination, deacons' wives, law enforcement chaplains, port maritime ministers, and anyone else who's on this call who's part of another ministry that we didn't name. This program is really can be for everyone. There's no prior theological formation required, but you can also come to this with a master's degree and feel like you're getting something from it. No prior pastoral care formation required. Students that want to be equipped to serve in pastoral care capacity. Organizations that may be invested in programs, dioceses, parishes, individuals, hospital systems, Catholic charities or Catholic community services, Catholic funeral cemetery services, Knights of Columbus, correctional facilities, homeless shelters. The list is endless. It's really open to anyone who simply just wants to accompany and walk with others. And what makes this course different? The Pastoral Care Foundations course is not merely academic, it is experiential. It provides a theological foundation for ministry in the context of pastoral care. Students also receive practical skills for ministering effectively across a variety of settings and situations.
So we really believe that the Pastoral Care Foundations course is bridging a gap. So consider the following. We all know that Catholic colleges and seminaries provide theological and spiritual formation for clergy, for professional lay ecclesial ministers. On the other end of the spectrum, we have clinical pastoral education. And for those of you who don't know what that might be, it's intensive clinical training for professional chaplains who serve in complex healthcare and institutional settings. So CPE is required for anybody who becomes a professional certified chaplain. But what about the people in between? What about volunteers? What about frontline ministers who will never set foot in a Catholic college or seminary, who will never go take CPE? That's where the Pastoral Care Foundations course fills the gap. And we believe in what we've done, and we took a little bit of theology and a little bit of CPE and put it together in a very basic, accessible course. So why does this course matter? Well, when pastoral ministers are well formed, individuals receive higher quality, more compassionate care. The ministers themselves serve with greater confidence and clarity. But parishes and organizations, they reduce risk by sending trained ministers who understand their role and stay within appropriate boundaries during pastoral care encounters. Have you ever been in a situation, maybe you're a leader of a ministry group. Have you ever been in a situation wondering if that person that you're sending out the door to do ministry is going to say the wrong thing? If you're going to get that phone call saying, can you believe Mrs. So-and-so said this, in this at the hospital? We want to make sure that what we teach in this course is our boundaries, are things to be careful for, privacy. There are so many things that a pastoral care minister needs to remember. And, they may have good intentions like Betty, but no one may have ever told them what to do or not to do. And, the scenario of Betty is based on a real person in my own life. And, I'm sure many of you have Bettys in your experience as well. And so, what happens is that our ministries can become more consistent and sustainable, and then we're better supporting the mission of the church. So the course structure, it's a fully online and self-paced course. It has accessible language and clear instruction. It includes a variety of activities, reflections, case studies, practical application. We have some reading. We have all kinds of activities in this course. The online modules total 30 hours. So there are 15 modules, approximately 2 hours each. So that constitutes the 30 hours of the course instruction. There's an additional 20 hours of mentored practicum, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. This course is suitable for individual enrollment or group instruction. For example, we have a cohort of folks out in the Archdiocese of Seattle right now. They're a group that's been going through pastoral care ministry together. They're lay people. And the Archdiocese has formed a cohort, and that whole group is going through the course together. Or it could also be for someone who's living in a rural area where there are no formation opportunities or far away from their parish. There are so many rural areas in our country where people are driving hours to get to their diocese or a long way to get to their parish. So this is suitable for somebody who doesn't have access to quality formation as well. Let's take a look at the course topics, because I think this is what really makes us unique. And these are a few pictures from our film set. Wade and his team transformed a space into a beautiful film studio for us. And so what you see here are several of our instructors. Bishop Jeff Haynes, who is on our board of directors, and he's our Episcopal liaison to the USCCB. He filmed a few things for us. And then we also did a number of outtakes. You see Sister Rita Annika. We interviewed a bunch of our certified chaplains, and we asked them to provide scenarios of how they would handle certain things in pastoral care. And so our students will also, are gaining from the wisdom of our members. But the first few modules are listed here on the screen. We have a short introductory module that just gives a simple welcome, an overview of how to complete the course, and an opportunity to download a digital workbook. So throughout the course, the student will use a digital workbook. It's a fillable PDF that they will keep on their local computer and complete their activities on that workbook. The first module, Pastoral Care 101, explains what pastoral care is and what it is not. Pastoral care is not the same thing as spiritual direction. It's not psychotherapy. It's not pastoral counseling. And so we want to make sure that our volunteers know to stay in their lane and know what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So that's a great overview of what pastoral care is. In the second module, we talk about charisms for ministry. We know that not everybody has the same gifts and not everybody has the same charisms. And we know that pastoral care is a different kind of ministry than catechesis or evangelization. It's not a ministry of conversion, it's a ministry of presence. And so we got permission from the Catherine of Siena Institute to utilize some of their content on the charisms of the Holy Spirit and the gifts for ministry. And so through this module, the student will take a short little survey to learn a little bit more about their own charisms, and then are invited to take a called and gifted workshop to further explore. The next set of modules are our Catholic faith modules. We recognize that a lot of our brothers and sisters in Christ have not had a strong catechetical formation growing up. They might not have had any formal theological formation. So we wanted to be sure that they are strong in their faith. So this is a review. Our whole curriculum is based on co-workers in the vineyard of the Lord. It flows from the 4 pillars of formation. And so one of the aspects of co-workers is that we want to make sure that our lay ministers are strong in their faith. And so you can see the topics here in front of you. The one thing that I want to emphasize here is that these topics are presented in the context of pastoral care. We're not simply regurgitating the Catechism of the Catholic Church. We talk a lot about why this matters for that ministry. For example, When in module number 4, we talk about all 7 sacraments, but we also touch on very common questions that surround the sacraments in the context of pastoral care. My Uncle John is in hospice, but he's not Catholic. Can he receive the anointing of the sick? I've got a family member who's been away from the church for a long time. They receive communion? Who can baptize? What is viaticum? We talk about a lot of those things that are key questions in pastoral care settings. And another example is the Catholic spirituality in you. We survey the various spiritualities of the Catholic Church, but we also help the student discern the spirituality of the person who's in front of them. What are some things that you can look for to help discern what that person's spirituality is? And then what kind of pastoral care can you offer that's in line with what would bring them comfort? In module 6, we touch on, moral theology 101, basic morality, but we also introduce the document from the USCCB, the Ethical and Religious Directives for Healthcare. And I just want to emphasize the fact that we make it very clear that a pastoral care volunteer is not a chaplain, is not a priest, is not a deacon. They don't have the proper training to help families make end of life decisions, but they should at least know that this document exists and when it's appropriate to hand off a family to somebody who's professionally trained. So module 7 is Catholic social teaching. It shows how that's the foundation for pastoral care. And then module 8 is taught by our Episcopal liaison, Bishop Jeffrey Haynes. We know that as an agent of the church, you're sent out there, even as a volunteer, and that people have lots of different opinions about the church. There are lots of things that people are angry about. So we want to make sure that our pastoral care workers are prepared, that they know what those issues are. And the bishop does a beautiful job gently helping them to be good listeners and helping them realize that they don't have to fix all the problems of the church. And then the next set of modules are the skills modules. This is what you might find in a level 1 CPE program. Pastoral communication, how to be an active listener, how to be attentive to the person in front of you, to watch body language, how to draw more conversation out of them, how to be comfortable with silence. That whole scenario with Betty showed that when she wasn't trained, she wasn't comfortable with the silence and felt that she had to fill in the gaps. And so that module is really powerful. Module 10 is a heavy one. It talks about life's deepest challenges. So we cover grief, stages of grief. What's the difference between grief and trauma? Aging, memory loss, addictions, how to minister to the dying. These are heavy topics, and we have a great presenter who did that in a beautiful way in this module. Professional and ministerial boundaries. Our volunteers might not know that they can set boundaries in ministry, and that sometimes people in their care can take advantage of them, and that's not healthy for them. So that's what that module is about. In 12, we go over the history of the safe environments movement in the Catholic Church. We explain how it evolved and why it's important to continue to be current with safe environments. And we also discuss HIPAA. If our volunteers are in a hospital environment, a healthcare environment, we have to make sure that they understand privacy. I'm sure you can imagine this scenario where Betty goes out to visit Joe, a parishioner in the hospital, comes back to the parish staff and tells them all about what's going on with Joe, what his diagnosis is, that he's having surgery. Let's put him on the prayer list. Of course, Betty's intention is good to get him on the prayer list. But if she said all that stuff about Joe to the whole parish staff, she's violated HIPAA to the hilt. So we want to make sure that she understands privacy. We know that not all ministries happen in a Catholic environment, so Module 13 explores some other faith traditions. We know that not all Catholics or ministers, for that matter, are comfortable praying with others. So Module 14 teaches somebody how to pray one-on-one with somebody, how to lead a prayer in a group, how to structure a prayer service. And so we've got some great resources for them there. And then finally, our module 15 is a capstone module. It takes everything that was covered in the previous modules and in the context of how to conduct a pastoral care visit. How do you prepare for your visit? How do you check in with yourself, make sure that you're okay for a visit? How do you conduct the visits, the reminders of what to do and not to do? How do you reflect on the visit afterwards? And so this is a great little review module for them to prepare them for the next step, which is the mentored practicum. So we want to make sure that the students have an opportunity to practice what they've learned. And so we've built in a 20-hour mentored practicum. So what we would do at this point is connect the student to one of our NACC certified chaplain mentors. We have several that are in training right now going through the program, who would be available to meet with them. So basically what would happen is that they would get connected with a mentor. They'd meet with the mentor before the practicum, and then after, and maybe the mentor would answer questions during the practicum, and then afterwards they'd have a capstone visit reflecting on everything that they've learned. So we thought that this is an important way to practice what you've learned. The module structure is the same and consistent from module to module. Each module begins with an introduction and an opening prayer, and there are several video segments. The number depends on the module. Some have more, some have less. The video is a 10 to 15-minute video clip with a workbook activity that they use their digital workbook to follow up. This course is not fluffy. There's a lot of meat to it. The students are learning tangible things in every segment, and then the module closes with a closing prayer, and then we have a short quiz, a 10-question quiz they have to pass in order to advance to the next module. Our course is delivered in our new learning management system that we just implemented last year. It's the courses are bundled into a certificate path. And so the student easily just navigates from one module to the next when they register for the whole course. As we get more students in the hopper, we hope to host webinars. We know that maybe not everybody's taking the class as a cohort and they don't have somebody to discuss and process what they've learned. So we want to give those individual students an opportunity to do that. So periodically throughout the year, we would host a webinar for everybody who's completed modules 1 through 8, the theological modules, and then we would do the same for the skills modules. When they're all done with the courses, with their practicum, they would receive a certificate from us, a certificate of completion. Now, I want to distinguish that from a certification because professional chaplain certification involves graduate theology, and it also involves clinical pastoral education. But this is not that. This is a certificate aimed at the audience that we outlined earlier. So, for some individuals, this will be a complete foundation for volunteer service. But for others, it might serve as a preparation for advanced parish ministry roles, chaplaincy discernment. It could also provide additional pastoral and theological education. I talked with a deacon director out in the Diocese of Jefferson City, and he said he'd like for all of his deacons to go through this as a refresher. So it can also be used for continuing education. And so, as Erica had mentioned earlier, we provided this course. We want to be a hub for pastoral care formation. And so we recognize that, especially after COVID, a lot of diocesan budgets got cut, a lot of parish budgets got cut, and dioceses, parishes, institutions might not have the resources to provide this kind of training. And so what we wanted to do is provide a centralized formation resources that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so we asked our Episcopal liaison, Bishop Haynes, what would you want pastors to know? What would you want our bishops to know? And so here's what he said. This is just a minute clip I wanted to share with you.
Well, I'd like to really encourage my brother bishops to really explore into this Pastoral Care Foundations course, because it provides a real blessing to the church at this time. I think my brother bishops know that there are an explosion of care facilities out there nowadays, especially as the society ages, and yet a lot of those don't have chaplains anymore, not hired full-time or even part-time. And so that weight falls on the parish. And so parishes need to have people to help the priest in providing that ministry. So this kind of course allows the people to be formed and trained in the right way. And that also leads to the second point I would say to the brother bishops, is that this is a kind of course that's rather comprehensive, and it will provide the proper level of skill that really a pastoral care minister needs. That's sometimes very sensitive ministry, and this kind of formal training will actually empower these lay people to give the quality of care that our people, our parishioners need.
So let's talk a little bit about the cost now. We're almost finished, and so please post your questions in the chat, and we will, facilitate the Q&A after we're finished. But so let's just talk about costs. So if you're an individual going through the whole certificate path with a mentored practicum, it's $595 per person. If you go through the certificate path with a cohort of people, a group of 11 or more, you can see that we offer a $100 discount per person in that case. But we also have had interest from institutions like Catholic healthcare systems who have non-Catholic personnel, non-Catholic chaplains, medical workers, who might just be interested in the theological modules. If they're ministering to a heavily Catholic audience, this is something that has interested them. So we've packaged it up as well to just offer modules 1 through 8. With no practicum, so you can see the costs there for the individual and the group. Conversely, we've had other groups approach us for just the skills modules. For example, I was at the National Association of Deacon Directors Conference last week. A lot of diaconal formation programs have theological components, but they don't have a pastoral skills component. And so there are many formation programs who are interested in just incorporating those skills modules into the existing formation they already have. So this configuration assumes that each person has an individual login, completes the modules independently. So even in the group scenario, like in the Archdiocese of Seattle that I mentioned earlier, this group is doing the course individually, but they're getting together monthly to unpack what they've learned. We also offer institutional licensing. So we've had groups say, we want to use your curriculum, but we have other curriculum that we want to fold into our training program. Is there a way that we can work that out? So we have also provided an option to access the curriculum, but through only one single institutional login that could be used for local course delivery. So the administrator would show the course in a classroom of people live, and then they could have discussion in the classroom that way. So in this case, the institution would take full responsibility for facilitating the course, providing discussion components, providing mentors if they wanted to have a mentored practicum, and overseeing those practicum components, and then granting whatever credential or certificate would be part of their program. So in this case, the NACC would not be granting a certificate. And so if that pricing is based on the number of students, so if you're interested in that institutional pricing, let us know, and we can share that with you. So we're very excited about the program. So next step, so we will distribute the slides and a video recording to everybody who's on this call. But so you'll have links to this website. But this is our landing page. This is where you went to register for this webinar today. And on that landing page at the very bottom, there's a program overview that gives a little bit more detailed description of each of the topics. We also have a sample video from our Pastoral Care 101 course, and then the video for Path to Course Completion. You can also, if you want to register for the course today, you can just go right to the website, and there's a registration link to register for the course itself. If you have questions and you would like further information, our contact information is on the screen. And so just some questions for your consideration as we enter into this Q&A period. Where do you see the need for pastoral care formation in your local area? And how can the Pastoral Care Foundations course equip the ministers to meet these needs? So that's all we have for the formal part of this presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we can open it up for questions.
There's some wonderful questions, and thank you. And we should be able to address all of them. I would like to say one other piece about this is that this is part of a bigger piece that we've created. And I know we mentioned that quickly, but we created a learning institute, the National Association of Catholic Chaplains Learning Institute. And so this is part of it. This is kind of the beginning part of it. And our hope is to grow it over time, and that this won't be the only course that we provide. This is the beginning. And so if somebody engages in this course, we hope to provide other courses where people can keep learning about different areas of pastoral care. So mental health, palliative care, hospice care, law enforcement chaplaincy. So our hope is to grow this. Our real hope is to grow this quickly, and I hope this addresses some of your questions for our Hispanic brothers and sisters. We are aggressively going after grants right now to make this happen. This course came alive because of grants from some, and we had some of our donors under some of the slides. And so we are working aggressively to make this happen because we know there's an incredible need for that. So more information to come. I wish we actually had an answer for you on that one. Other questions from the beginning, somebody asked, is there a time limit to completing the course?
There is not.
There is not.
There is not. It's self-paced, and you take as long as you need.
One of our deacons asked, maybe how do we split out the course? And I know, Anita, you addressed that, but do you want some further information on how you can break out the theology piece and the pastoral care piece, depending on your community?
Yes. So we will, right now in our course catalog, we have the one option for the full certificate path, but we have waiting in the wings, ready to go, the bundles for just the theology and just the skills. So if somebody wanted to just take those, we're not too far from having that available. So we just launched the course March 1st. And so we wanted to, before we put a whole bunch of stuff in the course catalog, get some feedback, do these presentations, understand where the needs are for our customers. And so we will be bundling them and offering them in the course catalog.
Great question about continuing formation hours. This is a certificate program. So if you take it from beginning to end with the mentor, you get a certificate. And that's yours. You don't have to do continuing formation hours. Now, we, of course, encourage you to engage in the learning management or into the Institute and take more courses if you want. And this course would count towards your continuing education hours. If you are a chaplain and you want to do some refresh on some of these areas, you can get continuing education hours. And we encourage not just new people and pastoral care ministers to engage in this, but we encourage our chaplains to do this as well.
There was a question from Deacon Mike Hayes that for the deacons in formation, the theology modules would be rather remedial. Yes, that's why we offer the skills modules, so that if you didn't want your deacons to take those. Though now the one deacon director that I mentioned in the presentation, he wanted his deacons to go through as a refresher for like post-ordination continuing education, but that's entirely up to you. Like I said, the modules they have a lot of meat to them, and so they are good refreshers, but that's entirely up to you. There's a question here: how does one become trained to become a practicum mentor? So that training is open to all certified chaplains in the NACC, and so if you are a certified chaplain and you're interested in being a mentor, email me at certification@nacc.org and I'll get you going. Other questions?
One of the things I would like to share too is there's so many people here representing so many different ministries. And so I think it's important to understand that this really can be used anywhere and for anybody. And I just want to share a little story. And I know we're kind of limited time, but So we have a young man here, and for the some person asking about Seattle Arch, I will send you the contact information just in a second. But here, I live in the Archdiocese of Seattle. That's where I live, and we have a young man who's local here, and he's um, a resident in one of our prisons. He's going to be there for a really long time, but he's feeling really called. He's feeling really called to something, and we know he can't be clergy. We know he won't be able to live into that role. So we encouraged him to maybe become a pastoral minister internally. He's got a lot of years ahead of him. And so he's actually going through this program so he can be a pastoral minister inside of his local prison. And he's really excited. I think he's already about halfway through the program and we'll mentor him. And so when you think about who this is for, go that far. Anybody can
Yeah.
be a minister, anybody can accompany, especially given the proper training.
Yeah. There was a question about continuing education hours required afterwards. No, because this is not a certification that you have to maintain. It's a certificate that you earn. It's a one and done. But we, like as Erica mentioned, we this is a foundations course that has been intentionally built to provide a foundation for any ministry scenario. But we will be building maybe a 2.0 pastoral care course in various specialties. For example, prison ministry. We didn't really touch on the specifics on how to be a good prison minister. So, we have it on the docket to build out these 2.0 courses, these specialty courses that can be stacked on top of this formations course. And a little bit of background, maybe for those of you who don't know the history of the NACC. Back in 2016, we had a grant. It was called the Partners in Pastoral Care. And it was a grant for various pastoral care professionals from all areas of the country and different types of ministries to get together and say, what kind of training can we provide for pastoral care ministers and what are the competencies? So they began with coworkers in the vineyard and they looked at the what the bishops laid out for lay ecclesial ministry. And then they adapted that for pastoral care. And so the end result of that were competencies for three different specialty areas: elder care, prison ministry, and hospital volunteers. And actually, that project sparked what is now the Catholic Chaplain Corps in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. They have an archdiocesan chaplaincy training program that feeds into their massive hospital network in the greater Houston area. I think it's like 35 hospitals. They staff with the Catholic hospital volunteers. And so, but when that project paused, like during the COVID years, we resumed it a couple of years ago and decided that what we want to do is begin with a program that's foundational to all ministries. So no matter where you minister, you have to be a good listener. You have to know that you're an agent of the church. You have to understand privacy and safe environments. And so this is why this is a foundational course that can feed into any type of specified ministry.
We have some other questions. Are there scholarships available? At this point, not yet. Our hope is we're just getting this off the ground, so our hope is to make scholarships available down the road. With pricing, though, we encourage with the pricing model, what we did is we looked at some other programs that are out there. So some of you might be familiar with like Stephen's ministry. That's been a ministry that's been around for years. That's a Protestant-based ministry. So we looked at that. We looked at their pricing model. We wanted to make it significantly less than that. But we also realized that $600 can be a lot for a person. So we really encourage if a parish is interested in doing this, maybe the parish scholarships half the cost and the person pays half the cost. It's really if you are at a diocese and you oversee prison ministry or port ministry, maybe you have a bucket of money that you could help train volunteers. If you're in a healthcare system, one of the things that I think about with this program, especially with the theological units, this would be great for non-Catholic chaplains or directors of pastoral care who work in Catholic healthcare. Maybe this could be supported by you in some way. So there's different types of ways to approach the pricing model. Eventually, NACC hopes to have scholarships available.
Mm-hmm. One question focused in on making this training available, accessible to parishes. Yes, please share the website with your pastors. We would love parishes to use this. I think that's one of the biggest challenges is communicating directly to the pastors. Obviously, we've got communication with our dioceses, but as you may know, if you've worked in the church for a while, information doesn't cascade down very easily. It's hard to get to the people who need that information. So we're hoping that our members and those who've encountered the course can spread the word and make people available, aware of what's available. I'm
Other
looking at, yeah.
questions? We should, just so you know, coming down the road, again, we said this is just the beginning. This is a jumping off point. What we want to do with this program, we want to make sure that we're training good pastoral care ministers and putting people out into the world that can accompany people well. But we're also trying to grow chaplaincy. This is a tool to help us grow chaplaincy in all areas: healthcare, prison ministry, law enforcement, port ministry. Sometimes people feel overwhelmed with the path to chaplaincy. So one of the reasons for creating this program was to introduce people to chaplaincy, to see, is this a path you'd want to start? And this is a great entry point. And somebody might come into this program and to say, wow, I feel great. I feel equipped to go to be a Eucharistic minister, to go visit somebody in prison. But somebody else might come into this program, and especially through their conversations with the mentor, they might say, I'm feeling called to something more. So maybe I might pursue CPE. Maybe I might pursue the training that you need to take for port ministry. So this isn't an end. Hopefully it's an introduction to many into chaplaincy.
Are there any other questions? Feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to.
For somebody asked about the licensing fee, we will send you all that information.
So this Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston is interested in licensing because they have their own chaplain training program that was based on the original project that was spearheaded by the NACC. But they love the components, they love the theology, so they might be going in that direction.
And again, because we're a national organization, we really had to start this at an asynchronous level. And so, but as we move through this program, we're going to learn how to provide this asynchronous, synchronous, providing materials for like train the trainer. So you can do some of this stuff on site, just as a look forward. So if you do the Pastoral Care Foundations course, what's coming down the pike is we actually got grant money to also create some modules for mental health, also palliative and hospice care. And then we also have an ethical and religious directives training coming very soon. So those will be pieces that are all part of our institute. Yeah, Jose, that's great feedback. Jose, and training session you mentioned would be excellent to include the aspect of how to manage the workplaces where pastoral agents who complete this training can work. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for the feedback and your comments. Is there a question that we did not answer?
Yeah, well, NACC be doing it. CPE. We'll answer that one later. It's a great question. Keep it alive. Okay. Dallas, Texas. Anita, somebody asked if we're having a conversation with Dallas, Texas.
Yes. Oh, thank you to Father Lawrence Chelian, who hosted. I was at the NADD conference. It was in Fort Worth. So I tried to connect with as many people as possible in the geographical area. So Father Lawrence, who's one of our board members and a senior executive at Christus Health, organized a meeting of some representatives from the Diocese of Dallas. And so, yes, we are in conversation, but if you want to poke them, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. Just to chime on, first of all, thank you very much, Erica, for your vision and the hard work of Anita. For the last several months sitting in the board, it was so delightful to see how this process was unfolding. I still remember the cheer and joy our board members shared as soon as we received the email from Erica saying this is it's ready to go. So thank you very much for the hard work. And I see a lot of familiar faces. I see my colleagues from Christus Chip. I see Father Leonard and Chaplain Chris. Thank you very much for joining. So we do have a lot of follow-up initiatives. In fact, I'm scheduled to meet with the formation team in the Diocese of Dallas next week.
Great.
They reached out to me and said this is going to be a great resource. We need to make it available. So we'll be having several meetings. So thank you for the hard work, and we accomplished something, but way more to accomplish and spread the word. So I signed up myself as the ambassador to this program to promote the program. Even though Anita and Erica doesn't need anybody, I
No,
want,
no, we do.
No, we
We
need
could use
lots
the
of
help. Yeah.
ambassadors.
yeah, be ambassadors and share with everybody. Great resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Lawrence. If I can, I just want to say the board, our NACC board has been exceptionally supportive of this program, and we're really trying to be innovative in the pastoral care space because we're finding that people in church are leaning into pastoral care in a great, beautiful way. I do want to just point out a few people on this call because this program took a lot to get off the ground. Some of you on this call might have helped us with some of the curriculum development, but it was really our production team. So Wade is the head of Westwards Consulting. Couldn't have done it, like literally put the set together, stayed up at night to paint walls, all the things we do in Catholic spaces. Sam is somewhere on this call. Albert, she really did the production and editing. Amazing. Pete is part of this call. He does like our background with our website and technology. And Janine did so many pieces. Emily did so many pieces with like editing. And so really it's just been a labor of love, and it's wonderful to see it come alive. To think about that we were just kind of, it was one of Anita's first probably months that she was here. We got together and we started talking. We just whiteboarded what this curriculum could look like. And that was a really exciting day. And then we kind of looked at each other like, okay, how do you make this come to life?
Yeah. I want to just share that this really was I feel like a real spirit-filled project. I mean, every step was, anchored in prayer, and I would say that I've worked on a lot of projects and a lot of capacities. I've done some training programs, but I've never had more joy and satisfaction than I've had in this project. With the team that I worked with, Wade and his team, and the NACC staff. It's really everybody's gifts came together. Emily is our editor extraordinaire. We call her Eagle Eye Emily because she can really see everything. So I guess I hope that when you look at the course and you receive it, that you know that a lot of love and joy went into putting it together. And so we are happy to present it to you today. And we hope that, God will use you in a special way. And we hope that this curriculum helps you along the way.
And let us know if you or a group is interested. Again, we're happy to meet with you or a group virtually. We'd even be happy to come in person. And then we could even get on a call and show you. Wade can help us give you kind of a virtual, kind of behind the scenes look at it. So let us know. Let us know how we can support you and move this forward. And grateful for all of you and the amazing ministry you all do and the people you support. So thank you. And you're all also, just so you know, you're now all official ambassadors to help us spread the news. So thank you for that.